Jesus suffered. Do you realise that? Jesus suffered. Do we know that? Do we actually ever pay attention to that? Like, we always say, well, what about all the suffering in the world? But Jesus came to earth to identify with us. Jesus came to earth to identify with us. He was a baby. Like, imagine that. God, the creator of the heavens and earth, almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing. And then he humbles himself and becomes a little baby. And he puts trust in the fact that Mary and Joseph were going to look after him and protect him. And they did. They heard God's voice. They ran away to Egypt. They protected him. They came back when God told them to. And then they raised him. And then he grew. And he grew the same way that we grow. He understands what it's like. He understands our feelings. He understands what learning's like. He understands suffering. People rejected him. They spat on him. They whipped him to the point where he was unrecognisable. They plucked his beard out. Like, it says that they didn't recognise him as a man anymore. Jesus wasn't just hit, he was abused. Like, he was tortured. Literally tortured for us. He was unrecognisable. Totally unrecognisable. They mocked him, they spat on him. They put a crown of thorns onto his head. They pretended to bow down and worship him, mocking him. And he went through all of that for us. He couldn't even carry the cross. That's how much pain he was in. He was a carpenter. Do you know how strong he would have been as a carpenter? And he couldn't even carry that cross. And yet he did carry it. He did have a little help for a little bit of the way, but he did carry it. And when he was on that cross, do you know he was totally naked as well? Imagine that. 12 feet up in the air. Well, I'm assuming it was about 12 feet. 12 feet up in the air. Completely naked. Completely wounded. Being mocked. Spat on. And you know what they offered him? Do you know what they offered him? That sponge that they